So while I'm sitting here working on this pedal, this Ibanez wah pedal, it occurs to me that it's a great opportunity to talk about dismantling, uninstalling, reinstalling boards into a chassis when you have multiple boards that are separated and connected with wire harnesses and things like that. The best way to do this is to always do the lower boards first. In some instances, you'll actually have to take off the upper boards, even just to get to the screws for the lower boards. In this case, all of these lower boards have exposed screws. Not that one. That one does. Obviously that one has been mounted already. The lower boards have screws that are available, for getting to. They're accessible without moving the top board. But the thing you want to do, number one, these should be the last one out. They'll be the first ones in. They'll also be the first ones that you tighten down. When you go to tighten down a board, don't tighten one screw and then move on and find that things aren't lining up right. Just tighten that one enough so that it grabs, then install the other screws, same thing. Make sure that everything is actually just grabbing in the chassis and that the board is oriented where it needs to be before you actually torque everything down. Bad idea. It's just like a car tire. If you go to change a car tire, you're going to tighten the nuts, but you're going to have all the nuts on there before you do your final tightening. So it's not like you're going to, really torque one nut down and then you're going to go to the others. Basically, you're going to finger tighten things, then you're going to go through and you're going to actually tighten. So when you do that, make sure that you do the same thing in the circuit board world that you do in the mechanical world. It's the same thing. Otherwise, if you torque this screw down, you might find that the board doesn't match up right. Then you're going to have to try to move it. You're going to be putting a lot of pressure on this corner of the board, and this corner of the board, this screw is set in a fairly good amount. But if this were mounted a little bit further out, if this hole were drilled a little bit closer to the edge of the board, that could crack right off. You don't want to do that. You also don't want to tighten it enough to where the board's going to crack. So that's another important thing. So as you go to tighten these things in, just be mindful of that and make sure that, obviously your cable management is in good shape, that wires are moving where they need to move, and not being impeded by screws or anything like that or pinched down. So, always do a check and make sure that, when you go to tighten something down, that there's contact between the board and the chassis. Otherwise, you might not have contact because you might have a pinch point with a wiring harness or something like that. So, again, just something to be mindful of as you're taking circuit boards out and putting them back into a chassis.